Good afternoon. This is Mr. Bruder, the Drug and Alcohol Resource Coordinator for Methuen Public Schools, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about our approach that Methuen Public Schools has incorporated for drug prevention and intervention since 2009. Welcome to our Drug and Alcohol Resource page. You'll be hearing my voice in the background as we peruse our webpage that we constantly are updating for the public. And I want to make it clear that the website is maintained by Kevin Hatch, who is a Methuen High graduate, a former student of mine, and also the Methuen High School media assistant. Without his cooperation, the website wouldn't be quite as up to date, so I want to thank him personally right off the start. Obviously, when you look at any school system and community regarding the drug and alcohol situation, it's pretty complex. In the year 2009, after my experience here of being in the English department for 34 years, in 2009, our youth survey came back with some startling results. And the superintendent, Judy Scannell, and myself said, well, what can we do about it? And so we took a very close look at that policy. Our current policy, mission statement and policies, and we wanted to make sure that we were at the forefront in trying to create and promote a drug-free community. We recognize that priority, and even though now with the influx of the opiate epidemic, not only in our state but in our country, we feel as though, humbly, that we have created a model program which has two highlights: the intervention of drug and alcohol in Methuen Public Schools to keep our students safe, but also, most importantly, prevention. I want to make this clear from the onset that without the cooperation of the superintendent, the school committee, city council, the community as a whole, in 2009, we recognized that we needed to do something to protect our children, and we did do something about it. So I'm very proud of that, and I am very proud to tell you a little bit about what we have created here in Methuen Public Schools as a team. You know, many times we hear about drug prevention when people are trying to understand what is going on and what does that mean. So hopefully after you listen to my narrative about some of the things that we're doing, far from perfect, but we feel as though we have a comprehensive program. We have a team approach, and we have the experience and the knowledge to try to keep our children safe. We want to make it clear that we are committed to raising awareness of the dangers of illicit use of drugs and alcohol, and to strive to support students in making healthy and safe lifestyle choices. Our objective is to collaborate among students, staff, family, and the community to effectively attain the goals that value responsibility, productivity, and achievement. This webpage is intended for the entire Methuen school community to access information and resources helpful in maintaining our mission. The first thing we're going to take a look at, and you'll see it on the screen, our drug and alcohol policy. Here we have the drug and alcohol policy. I'm not going to read the entire policy, obviously, but the purpose of this policy is to provide a clear message, and that's a crucial piece to the intervention, that we as a school community are making a clear message to students, parents, and the community that the use, possession, and distribution of illegal drugs and alcohol will simply not be tolerated. So before we look at the individual and prevention model, we must look at the school community and its culture. And I am so proud of the Methuen Public Schools in terms of identifying that we have this issue and dealing with it head on. And you must be very strong in the intervention model to make it clear to students coming to Methuen Public Schools that we will keep our students safe. And this policy is pretty basic, and it's aligned with the state law that students' use of drugs and narcotic alcohol on school property, buses, bus stops, or at any school-sponsored or school-related function is not going to be tolerated. being under the influence of illegal drugs, narcotics, or alcohol on school property, school buses, bus stops, or school-sponsored functions will simply not be tolerated. And we have a very close working relationship with Officer Mella, who is here on a daily basis, but with the whole cadre of school officers who function and who work with us very closely around the intervention model as well as the prevention model. Here, the basic following, the procedures will be utilized in any case where a student is suspected of or engaging in any of the prohibitive conduct enumerated in the paragraphs above. Basically, what we're saying is that there is a policy and it's in place, and there is a step-by-step policy procedure to follow. The only change that I see recently as prior, that initially when someone was caught or under the influence, they would be suspended, they would be removed from school, and then upon coming back, there would be nothing in place to help the parents or help the student change the pattern of behavior. So I do see that the length of suspension that used to be 5 to 10 days with the letter for a hearing for possible expulsion has been changed somewhat. We want to keep our students, as long as it's not concerning sales of drugs, but we want to keep them in school within house in-school suspension. So I see that is the only real change, but it's a step-by-step process. The teachers or the staff are not asked to make a diagnosis, and we will be talking about the potential substance abuse referral form later on. But I wanted to give you a highlight of our drug and alcohol policy, and basically let you take a look at it, so that we become very transparent as to dealing with this issue. But intervention is obviously a crucial piece. We look at the whole. There are close to 2,000 students attending Methuen High School on a daily basis, and we understand that within that we have a responsibility to keep our children safe. Methuen Public Schools do reserve the right to discipline students for drug or alcohol-related actions or offense which are committed by the student during non-school time on property other than school property and are at functions or events which are neither sponsored by nor related to the Methuen Public Schools.
In front of you is a key component of the prevention model. It's as you see, it's listed as the potential substance abuse referral form. This particular form is used school-wide. And it's crucial that staff members feel comfortable when they're trying to help students, and by processing and sending referrals to me, this is a manner in which they can do it in a time-efficient way. They're not making a particular diagnosis, but they are seeing some signs that are covered, as you can see. We give them the direct line. We also will give them some link kids, which give you a step-by-step procedure in looking and identifying signs and symptoms of substance abuse. And we feel as though because staff members spend so much time in direct contact with our students, then who better would be informed in terms of seeing some behaviors that are concerning. So we have done a great job with this. We're averaging anywhere from 40 to 60 referrals per year, primarily at the high school level. And this referral form is going to be used, continue to be used, along with the SBIRT model, which is a screening and intervening device, which we will be discussing with Patty Como, who's leading the forefront with Jeff Osgood and John Crocker and Gina Bozek, as we take on a state-mandated referral form to identify substance abuse, or at least start the conversation early on with adolescents. A show later on in the broadcast with Let's Talk with my cable show will give you more specifics. But I just wanted to give you a very brief understanding of the potential substance abuse referral form that is now being used. It comes directly to me. No one has access to this other than myself. And then based on the information, I will then go about and go through a process of informing a guidance counselor, getting some more information from other classroom teachers, and then if appropriate, we contact the parent and then set up a meeting and then hopefully offer some services. And that's basically all this is about. It's prevention. It is not punitive in any manner, shape, or form. And hopefully this model will be used as we move on with the SBIRT model, and we'll be able to make more progress in earlier identification with students who obviously are not starting substance use yet, but are dealing with it at home. And that is a crucial piece of the SBIRT screening tool as we move forward. So it's exciting to see that we're understanding that we are going to provide more services for kids that that have issues around substance abuse. Hopefully this referral form gives you a clear indicator that we have a model in place for staff, for all, to use in the event they're concerned about a student or any other staff member in the Methuen Public Schools.
Here, you see the Methuen Public Schools Drug Prevention Plan Intervention / Prevention Strategies. Again, a very quick, brief history that in 2009, the YRBS, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, was given to a selection of students in grades 5 through 11 in Methuen Public Schools. The results indicated there was still much to do to address the increasing issues related to substance abuse. At that time, an effective health curriculum was in place to address prevention measures, but the primary method of intervention was simply suspension from school. Much was needed to change the culture of the school community. The position of the Drug Alcohol Resource Coordinator was created to develop, implement, and coordinate a school-based approach to tackle the wide scope of substance-related issues that have a direct impact on student achievement. This approach includes two major tenets: intervention and, as I mentioned before, most importantly, prevention. Presenting problem was that in order to have a safe school, the survey showed that many students were engaged in or witnessed some unsafe, unhealthy, or age-inappropriate activities. Anecdotal observations regarding substance use and abuse indicated that situations occurred during, before, and after school, including hallways and buses, in the parking lots, and during or after school hour events. In an effort to decrease this unsafe activity, a number of intervention methods had been implemented and are always being updated. In addition, prevention methods have since been developed and expanded to promote and provide healthy alternative social experiences for the youth of Methuen Public Schools. Moving down here, we have intervention, which is obviously the key, the administration and staff. The coordinator is to work closely with the superintendent and administration to continue to change the culture of the schools. And I am so proud of where we have come, that I believe Methuen Public Schools can be a model to the other schools in the Merrimack Valley as well as the state in terms of what we have in place. Other staff members crucial to this team effort, and it's absolutely essential to realize that this is indeed a team effort, including the nurses, the resource officers, guidance counselors, and the entire staff. A referral system was needed to be implemented, and we will go over and show you the potential substance abuse referral form a little later on. But the fact that the coordinator was to establish an approved system for identifying at-risk students and procedures for a plan of action that could potentially help the student avoid further suspensions and/or continuous substance abuse problems. A system-wide, confidential potential substance abuse referral form was devised and supplied to all school administrators and the entire staff. We also will be showing you two sample copies of the reentry process. We call it, I'll refer to it as the reentry contract. But for students who were charged with drug or alcohol-related offenses, the policy regarding their reentry into school was established. The reentry program student contract phase 1 was developed. This contract involved the participation and signatures of the resource coordinator, the administrator, the staff, obviously the parents, the nurse, and the student. The student agrees to stay substance-free, complete drug screens as necessary out of school, either through the primary care physician or the hospital, attend all classes, maintain passing grades, avoid discipline infractions, and maintain communication with the coordinator. Unfortunately, as in all cases, there are relapses and students not understanding the severity of this issue, and therefore the multiple offense reentry was formed. And the same applies with the additional stipulation that the student attend an after-school drug or alcohol program to put in more prevention pieces for this one. The coordinator will provide confidential support and assistance for all staff members in need of intervention. Most of the focus and attention obviously is on students, but as all we know now that this issue affects all people, regardless of age. The key to this is the resources. What resources are available for parents? What resources are available for the schools? What resources are available for the students? Basically, because I have worked in the courts for over 10 years, early on in the early 90s, and with the local psychological center as a drug and alcohol counselor, I was able to develop a lot of local recovery community supports, and that is constantly being updated. And on our page, we are always updating what's available for resources. A relationship with the police is key. As I mentioned before, the school resource officers do a wonderful job working in the classroom at times, talking about prevention and with the younger school level. And they play a key role in the coordination of the school and the school community. We also have cooperation with the District Attorney's Office, the CCI. They're a member of the Community Collaborative Initiative, which is mandated by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 12, Section 32, and are held at the central office once a month. These meetings bring together schools, police, probation, and other state agencies to address youth violence and provide appropriate prevention and intervention resources. So we will move on. We also have had some statistics that were constantly being updated, obviously, and when this initially went out, there was approximately from 2009 to January 2014, over 167 students. That number is considerably decreased since we've developed these parameters for our schools, and it's a good thing to see. So this, again, we'd like to say that we are a success story in terms of the prom. Prior to the implementation of this program, Methuen had quite a few incidents at the senior prom, and since 2009, we've had maybe one or two that either came up during the junior or senior prom. So prom awareness campaign, guest speakers coming in to talk to the students. Breathalyzers had been used at the prom door in the past. We no longer use them now, and a team of adults constantly, closely monitor all entryways and bathrooms, and to make sure and ensure that the prom is a success and we don't have any accidents. The most effective piece, obviously, is the prevention piece, and Mr. Osgood, the coordinator of the wellness program, and all of the health teachers have to be commended. They're constantly being educated themselves and updating their information and their classes. And I work closely with the health teachers and Mr. Osgood, and we, I believe, have a really good team approach, and they're constantly revising curriculum and looking at, especially now with the opiate explosion, that we hopefully will increase more attention at the younger ages. That's a work in progress. The SAD program, Students Against Destructive Decisions, I want to highlight that Methuen still is the only school district in the state to have a group in each school building. District-wide, over 200 members have signed contracts for life, and we can show you a sample of that, where the parent is brought in and they are to read the contract together, and they sign it, and it's called a Foundation for Trust and Caring. We will constantly show you some examples of activities that have gone on in the past and also are going on currently. Now I will be showing you the SAD advisors' positions and short biographies for each of our SAD advisors. I'm going to just quickly give credit to the SAD advisors, and as you can see on the page, their positions and short biographies are listed. This group of women, Jackie Rubino from the high school and the CGS, Diane Alamo from the Timony, Elizabeth Fulks from the Tenney Grammar School, and Stacy Zrackett from the Marsh School, have been instrumental in creating a consistent forum for the grammar school level and the high school level to be role models and to create this peer model. We chose SAD because it has a history in Methuen Public Schools. I was the SAD advisor for Methuen High School back in the 80s and early 90s when it was an anti-drunk driving campaign. We felt as though because it was a national campaign, it provided a forum for people to be able to create lesson plans and create activities, that the SAD model would be the way to go. Because of these women who have been with us since 2009, our grammar school prevention model through the SAD programs have simply been a modeled. Again, we are the only school system in the state to have this. These staff members should be highly commended for their activity. Jackie Rubino plays an indispensable role because she's not only here at the high school, which deals with close to 2,000 students. She maintains a peer group each year and constantly trying to expand the program, which is a challenge at high school. She does have the bi-monthly meetings at the high school and weekly meetings at the CGS to discuss issues that are within the school, plan activities after school, on weekends, at nights. We have a lot going on. We go down to the Timony with Diana Lamo. She's a 7th grade math teacher and has been there for 14 years. She plays a great role in dealing at the Timony with the 7th and 8th graders, and she actually coordinates our big event where all of the SAD students, well, many of them attend the big Skateland activity in February, where we have on average 60 plus kids going and enjoying a drug-free event. So I want to thank Diana Lamo, Elizabeth Fulks, wonderful health teacher, extremely dynamic, and is constantly being involved in different activities through her health class and SAD. Big proponent of the Red Ribbon Week, laser craze, just all sorts of stuff from Kick Butt Days to Festival of Trees and Out of the Darkness Walk. And this month, the Blackout Bullying is something. So again, the cadre of team members. This is a team approach to the prevention model. And the last one, Stacy Zrackett, who was a member of our SAD group. She graduated in 1990 from Methuen High, and she was a leader in SAD as a student, and now one of our most treasured assets as a SAD coordinator at the Marsh School. And she's constantly creating drug-free events. We recently this year, as you will see, we had an officer from the narcotics division come in and speak to the SAD advisors, as well as a young woman who is a professional and who is in early recovery from opiate addiction. So again, without the SAD advisors, the prevention models simply would not exist. They are very much needed and appreciated for all that they do here in Methuen Public Schools. Just want to give you a brief background on myself. I taught in Methuen Public Schools as an English teacher. After graduating in 1971, I have been a teacher of English for 34 years before retiring in 2009. At that particular point after the youth survey, they saw the need to create this position, and I've been in the Drug and Alcohol Resource Coordinator since 2009. My educational background was a BA in English, but more importantly, as I moved into this field, a master's degree in science and community psychology at Springfield College. From a background on drug and alcohol counseling, I spent over 10 years at the Psychological Center as a drug and alcohol counselor mid to late 80s to the early 90s while I was teaching, and then became the director of the drug treatment on-demand program, and spent 4 years developing that program with Mr. Paul Doobie in Lawrence Probation at Father Lawrence District Court, which was the precursor of the drug court as it stands now. I have been a member of the local recovery community on a personal level since the mid-'80s, and obviously anyone who has the personal experience with substance use and abuse brings to the table a lot of information, especially when dealing with students who want to know what kind of experience you do have. The fact that the personal experience in recovery has given me a wealth of experience and knowledge in terms of not only identifying substance abuse in adolescence, but also the path to recovery and maintaining recovery. The fact that I'm a parent of a young man who suffered terribly from opiate addiction, I, as a parent, know firsthand what it's like to see and to feel the fear and the dangers that go along with a child who's addicted. So that background, again, in the local recovery community has given me a tremendous amount of support. So from a personal point of view, I want to reach out. It's a very sensitive matter when you discuss personal experience, but I think it's absolutely essential that the community knows that the individual who is trying to coordinate these services for your children have that background both educationally and on a personal level. A parent to parent talking about a son or daughter's addiction is an extremely powerful experience. So I just wanted you to have that background so that you know that hopefully you feel that Methuen Public Schools is having a strong team approach, and hopefully we will make you proud. Thank you. As you see on the narrative, the prevention piece with the SAD advisors obviously is the heart and soul of the model, together with the health curriculum that Mr. Osgood is constantly revising. John Crocker and guidance obviously plays a major issue dealing with students and the mental health issues and what have you. So as I've mentioned prior, this is a team approach. Part of reaching out to the community, again before the opiate explosion, we felt as though, even though the educational cable show isn't perhaps viewed by millions, we feel as though it's our responsibility, and none of this would be possible without Mr. Dave Shaheen, who is constantly educating his students on how to expand their capabilities in the video world. So it's crucial that Mr. Shaheen is also mentioned because we feel as though reaching out to the parents of our school community. When we think of the school community, we think of everyone in Methuen. So as a result of that, in 2009, we started a cable show called Let's Talk with Dean Bruder. And it's broadcasted on the educational channel, as I mentioned, Comcast Xfinity Channel 99, the Verizon Channel 31. And with the exception of when the new high school was being completed and the studio was being completed, we have produced perhaps close to 20 interviews with different community members dealing with substance abuse in the attempt to educate our community about substance abuse and issues around that. So we will be showing you clips from different episodes. A lot of times people want to know, what are the schools doing in terms of drug prevention? And you and I, if you could start off giving us a little background on the SAD program.
Sure. 7 years ago, I started teaching at Methuen High School, and you and I obviously had a wonderful relationship from the start. And you brought the SAD program back to the high school, which had been gone for many years. So naturally, I got involved with you and the students, and we've had the program now back at the school for 7 years.
Well, Students Against Destructive Decisions, but what does that really mean, and what are we trying to do in terms of giving our students an opportunity to stand up and take ownership of themselves and live a more healthy lifestyle?
We have grades 7 through 12 opportunities for students to go on field trips, bowling, skating. We're doing ice skating this year, volunteer work, and just promoting good citizenship, helping others, but also having that social aspect where you go and you have fun, and it doesn't involve substances.
Could you give me a little idea about why you came and chose to get yourself involved with me with SAD?
Yes, I too have been affected by substance abuse. My cousin, who was 19, passed away about this. Now it's 9 years ago, and he was very close to me, and he had the same upbringing I did. Great family, great parents, very supportive, very involved in athletics, and I saw him, just deteriorate and go from pain medication use to heroin to overdose and death. So, I wish that he had someone at his school or some figure in his life that knew about what was going on, other than his family, and obviously he hid it from us. But I wish he had some place to go, maybe in school, that could have helped him. So I really feel passionately about the cause, because if I or the other advisors or other students in the group can have an effect on one person and change their course in life, then that makes me feel good.
Today's guest, I'm very excited to have Shane Godick. Shane Godick is a 5-year SAD member, and he also has a very interesting story to tell. So welcome, Shane. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
So when I say a 5-year SAD student, what does that mean?
So I joined SAD in the 8th grade at the Tenney Grammar School. That was the first year, I believe, that the program went on at my middle school. And then once I got to the high school, I joined the high school branch of the SAD program. So 5 years.
Tell me a little bit about your story coming here to Methuen High.
Well, I never really was interested in going through the whole party scene thing. Growing up, I was kind of the smart kid, that label. I was, the small nerdy kid who always freaked out about homework and, tried to do the right thing. So once I got to high school, I wanted to make a change, and I became more social, but I did it in a way without putting myself in a situation where I was pressured to drink, pressured to do drugs. Every day you wake up with the mindset of, I'm going to do what I want to do today, not what somebody else wants me to do.
You've been involved in the SAD program. You've been involved in a lot. School politics?
Yeah, I'm class president.
Class president. Yeah. I mean, so you have really had a rich, experience-filled high school life. How is college going, Shane?
It's going well. I applied to 6 schools. I've heard back from 2 so far, waiting to hear back from the other 4, hopefully in the next couple weeks. I'm into Northeastern's Honors College, which is my #1 choice, and I'm into UMass Amherst's Honors College.
Thank you very much for coming on to our show.
No problem.
We have people who have experienced a lot of pain and suffering. I'm sure you've had your ups and downs in your young life. I wish we could have utilized you more often, but you're involved in so much. We don't want to be in a monopoly. But Shane, your parents must be very proud. I know Methuen Public Schools is very proud to have someone come, and I hope you come back after wherever you go next year and come by and visit. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Today, I have a very special guest on our show, a former student of mine, a colleague, and more importantly, a friend. Welcome, Jeff Osgood.
Thanks for having me, Dean. I'm great.
Great. Tell us a little bit, give us a little background of the school you went to, your training, and your experience here in Methuen Public Schools.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a graduate of Methuen High School, class of 1998. From there, I went off to Springfield College and got my bachelor's degree in health education and studies. I taught health education here at Methuen High School for 12 years. My largest role is that I supervised the 32 health teachers, physical education teachers, and family consumer science teachers in the district to help work with the health education teachers to develop programs that will help prevent some of these issues to the best of our ability within the schools, to get kids aware of the dangers, to allow them to explore these things in the safety of a classroom where we talk about the harmful effects, where we talk about not just the effects on them, but the people around them.
What's going on in the Methuen Public Schools to give our young children tools as they, at a very young age, are exposed to some of these things that we're not that familiar with?
Good question. And our health education starts at the 5th grade level. Okay. But I don't rule out our K to 4 physical education teachers in helping kids develop healthy habits. Sure. And so all the way down to kindergarten, we focus on healthy habits through physical education and the importance of just being healthy. That translates in a health class in 5th grade towards introducing them to what drugs are out there, how drugs affect them, the very basic levels. Tobacco. Sure. What is tobacco? How does tobacco affect a person's life? How does that maybe introduce them to other drugs down the road? There are 7 skills that we focus on. Decision-making skills. We talk about goal setting. We talk about advocating for healthy behaviors. And they almost come at a point where all the skills build on each other starting in 5th grade. Sure. So where in 5th grade we might focus on decision making and goal setting, all the way up through the high school level we focus on advocacy and self-management. Because by the time a kid is 15, 16, 17, 18, yeah, they see these things, they're exposed to them. So now it's decision-making time in the real world. We gave you the knowledge, we gave you the background, but how can your decision-making be the next most important thing that you do?
We had that opportunity to work together with the SAD groups and with the health teachers, especially at the grammar school level, but the high school obviously as well. I feel very comfortable when people are asking me out in the public, well, what kind of drug prevention is going on in the health classes and other classes in Methuen Public Schools? I think of you, I think of how it's played such an important role in your life. You've been here for well over a decade, and I think you have some unbelievable staff that shares that vision in terms of trying to give these students tools to kind of navigate through the high school years. Not easy to make the right choices, and obviously some of our children are making poor choices, but the majority of the kids, what do you find?
Above all the rest, it's that decision and practicing those decision-making skills and telling the kids your decision, whether it's in relation to drugs, getting behind the wheel of a car after drinking or using drugs, those decisions can change your life in a second.
We've had many surveys about their engagement, students' engagement in different activities.
Right. The Youth Risk Behavior Survey is national, but Massachusetts always has its own version of it. And it has slight updates from year to year depending Sure. on what the trends in health education are. I took all 99 questions and built a Google survey with it that we can administer to the entire school, grades freshmen through seniors. Okay. I can administer it to the entire school in about 45 minutes. And from there, it allows me, during professional development days with my staff, to look at that survey and to identify areas where we see trends, whether moving up or down. My big goal is to take that data and use it to drive our new upper level course.
And I think you're really on top of the ball, and that's an amazing, effective tool to really get some information that's direct, authentic information to help our students in Methuen. Today we have a very special guest. His name is John Crocker, and he's head of guidance. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Welcome. John, could you give us a little of your personal background before you came here?
Sure. So I started out in mental health. I worked for a group who are now called Triumph Center, and we did social skills counseling for students who have autism spectrum disorders. it's been really rewarding to start to work in Methuen.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I have definitely seen a change since you've come here, and it's a nice feeling to know that you were a guidance counselor and you were given the position, and now you're basically in charge. What does that responsibility entail?
The guidance department is responsible for 3 main areas or domains. So we look at academic planning and advising, social emotional counseling, so that's really the mental health piece, and then post-secondary planning. The goal is to ensure that students have plans in all of those areas to keep them going in school, to keep them successful and healthy. And a lot of times we see that some students need one area, some students need all of them, but ultimately we try to make sure that every student is serviced by the guidance department.
What do you see some of the major issues that a high school student has to deal with in the year 2015?
I think there are always the academic issues at play, and finding successful strategies to really promote success in schools is something that we focus on heavily. The many interventions that we have in the academic realm help students to find success in school. The other piece, a very large piece right now, is mental health. We want to ensure that students have the resources available to them and the counseling services available to them so that they can find success in schools and access the curriculum. Ultimately, if there are mental health issues that are impairing someone from really being able to access school, then that has to be addressed so that students can find success. Mental health is a big issue right now, and I think that a lot of students are struggling with mental health issues. We seek to support them with counseling services, with opportunities for referrals to outside services. Sure. But definitely, I think the onus, I feel, is on the department to provide those services, because these are ultimately our students, and we want to ensure that they're protected in school, they feel safe in school, and that they get what they need from us. So mental health, I would say, is one of the biggest issues we face right now.
Yeah.
There are a lot of needs in this district. There are a lot of students who require support, and the guidance counselors have done a great job of really answering the call to provide that support, along with a lot of, it's a joint effort. It's not the guidance department on its own. It's the entire administration, all the teachers, all the support staff, all collaborating and consulting with each other to find success with students. And I think that's one of the key pieces with the guidance department is it's one area among many where communication can go on about students, and that where we get to collaborate about student success.
Patty Como, and she's the head nurse at Methuen High School. And when I tell you that they're busy up here at the high school, that's an understatement. So good morning, Patty. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Dean.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Good. We focus on substance use and abuse in here, and I'm trying to show that everyone in our school system plays a major role. And the nurses are almost like the heartbeat. They are the ones who, really can help the teachers and the administrators, to understand what's going on if a student comes down under the influence or whatever. But you deal with a myriad of social problems that the typical American teenager is dealing with. Has it changed much in your long career? Have you seen a change?
Yes, I have. We are dealing with more mental health issues. Substance abuse goes along with that. But a lot of people view the health office at school as being a place that someone goes for physical ailments, but they don't realize the amount of time that we're spending on mental health and substance abuse issues.
How does the team operate?
Exactly. Well, I think one of the key things is we all communicate with each other. It's very important that all of the facets of the school speak with each other. For instance, we share things with guidance, guidance shares things with us. If a teacher has a concern about a student, they know that they can reach out to us. We'll do an assessment on the child. We have a tool that we use for that. And then we'll refer them to whatever person that we feel is appropriate. And many times that's you.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a substance abuse issue.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful. I mean, I think we can always improve. You know, you have systems, but I think as a school system, and I think the nurses, you know, you really play a safe place where these kids can go. They're not going to be judged. They will be evaluated. And if they come brought down by an administrator, or they are brought down or referred to by a teacher, you do have a set of diagnostic tools. You will use your medical experience to analyze and to evaluate. And it's always the safety of the child that you're concerned with. And I am always amazed at how patient you guys are, how much you do work as a team, and how quickly, I guess it's because you're so experienced, the three of you, that you bring something different to each one of the students that may be coming in. Today's guest is Doug Griffin from New Hampshire, and he's coming here one day before the anniversary of his beautiful daughter dying. Welcome, Doug, and thank you so much for coming
Thank you
and sharing
thanks
your
for having me.
experience. This is a parent's perspective of losing a child to this addiction that we're hearing all about. Can you tell us about your beautiful daughter, Courtney?
Sure. Courtney was a pretty bright kid. She was always up for trying any new challenge. You know, she wanted to do the zip line or jump off the bridge or, you know, do that kind of stuff. And she loved life. I mean, we loved to travel. You know, she loved Hawaii. If you asked her, you know, what she wanted to be when she grew up, she would always say Hawaiian. And I don't know if she ever really saw employment in her future. You know, she was just out for a good time. Even through the hardest of times, we laughed all day. I mean, I just loved working with the kid. You know, it was stressful towards the end, but it was great to work with her because she was really bright. The biggest thing about Courtney was after she passed away, we had a lot of kids come up and say, "Your daughter was the first one that came to me when I got to that school and welcomed me there. You know, if I was lost and I needed help, I could always go to Courtney. You know, she would always help other people. You know, she was always looking to help other people."
So she had a large personality.
Yeah.
She had a large personality.
Yeah.
So you start to catch her in lies. She starts to develop a language that you know that is infused with substances. When was the first time you knew that your daughter was using opiates?
There was talk of it, but my daughter was she was a liar. She lied all the time. I mean, if she was wearing a green shirt and you asked her what color it was, she'd say it was yellow. You know, she lied about everything, so we could never tell if she was telling the truth. And she said to us one time, she said, "I'm a heroin addict," and that was, you know, like, what? You know, and then she sort of dropped it. And she mentioned it a couple of times, and we tried to talk to her about it, and we didn't know whether to believe her or take her serious or not. And then we found the first needle in our home, and then we knew we were in trouble. I own a company, and out one door of my office was my flower shop where my daughter works, my older daughter, and out the other door was where Courtney was in my computer company. And I get to work with my two daughters all day long. It was heaven, you know. And we laughed and played stupid music and games and jokes on each other and pranking each other all the time, and life was good. So she saved up a bunch of money, and she was doing really well. And so we said she wanted to buy a car. So I said, yeah, go ahead. So she went out and she got a brand new car. On the way home from the car dealership, my wife was following her, and she went into a gas station, and there was the boy from the fast food place who needed a ride. And from that moment on, things went straight downhill because she was now the ride. You know, anytime they needed a ride, they call her. And those friends were all users. They were all using heroin. And it escalated pretty quickly from that point. And we started trying to get her treatment. She went to Hampstead Hospital. She was in there for a while. She came out with a bad attitude. You know, she didn't want help. She didn't want treatment. She felt like we were locking her up. But when she came out of Hampstead, she had a list of where all the drugs came from in the world, because that's where all the drug people were. Yeah. So now, instead of getting drugs around here, she's going to Milford, and, you know, she's going a long distance. Although I could sit here all day long and do what ifs, and I did for a while, and it's crushing. You know, everybody out here that's watching this, instead of, you know, doing that, say, what can I do today to help other people? You know, how can I get involved to save some kids' lives. And there's things that are going on now. We just started a company in New Hampshire, and we're going to open the Courtney Griffin Sober House. And that's a project that my family is going to just dive in head first. The focus of the entire movement is geared at the center of the addiction issue, where you have detox and treatment. And what I want to focus on is the top and bottom of that layer, where you go in from the 4th grade up and you're educating these people, and from the release from the treatment place into sober houses and long-term care, because we've got to start this from the bottom to the top.
Today's guest is Chuck Rosa from Seabrook Beach, New Hampshire. He has a story, a very powerful, dynamic story that no parent wants to have to go through. And I appreciate very much, Chuck, you coming on and sharing your story about your experience with your sons. Could you explain at the beginning with your sons as they became teenagers, what was going on at home? What was it like to grow up in your house?
Well, I had 6 children. I only have 4 now because I lost my 2 oldest sons, Dominic and Vincent, due to accidental drug overdoses. I almost lost a 3rd son. His name is Charles. He's been clean and sober for almost 7 years now, and I have 3 more. First time I caught them, we had got out of work early one day. My son Vincent was getting sick in the bathroom, and I asked Dominic, I said, why is Vin getting sick? And he said that they were drinking vodka down at the bus stop. I did all the things that I knew to do as a young parent. We punished them and yelled at them and grounded them and all that. They got to the point where they were experimenting with other things. And I got a phone call one night. It was a Salem hospital saying that my son Vincent was unresponsive, and I thought that I knew what it meant, but I just figured he'd been in a car accident, and could see my son on a table which was about 15 feet away with his arms folded with the tube coming out of his mouth. And I says, how's my son Vincent doing? I'm his father. And she didn't answer me. And then I asked her again, and she just kind of looking at me. And I said, what's going on here? And she said, they didn't tell you? And I said, tell me what? And she said, he's dead. And I go, no, he's not. And I went over to him, and I shook him for what seemed like 10 minutes, but it was probably 5 or 10 seconds. And he won't wake up. And he broke my heart that day. And about 9 months go by, and my son Dominic was doing well, but he had a bad moment. One of his friends from, doesn't matter what, Wilmington called him, and he relapsed. And when your body isn't used to doing what it was doing before, it's a prime time to relapse. And I got a call from the Winchester Hospital, and they told me he had expired, which... And I think that he lived with a lot of guilt that maybe it should have been him. They passed away when they were 20 and 21 years old.
Chucky's Fight. Tell us about it. What do you do? Tell us about the foundation.
Well, I started about, I think it was 8 years ago. We're a 501c3 nonprofit up in Seabrook, New Hampshire, and I go to schools and do presentations on the dangers of drugs and alcohol. I tell my story. It's mostly question and answer. I'm not here to scare them or to lecture them. What I've done right and wrong as a parent, and at the end of the presentation, they're given the opportunity to make a pledge, and they're given a dog tag that looks like this, and it's to remind them to make healthy choices if they're willing to make that pledge. I think we've done well with it. I go in the ocean every day, 365 days. My son's ashes are in the ocean, just in a pair of shorts, to be close to them. And I say a prayer down at the beach and ask them to give me the strength to be clean and sober today, and to give me the courage to go to the schools and speak and work with the community service people that are struggling.
I have a guest speaker. His name is Anthony S. And he played a major role this past fall in Methuen Public Schools as the keynote speaker during Red Ribbon Week. I'll give the audience a little bit of the background about your family and how you were brought up.
Sure.
Give us a little.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest strengths when I go to a school and speak, when I tell my whole story and then I get to the part where I'm a drug addict and they say, they can't believe it. And I think that helps a lot because there is a stigma and there's a look for someone like that. So I grew up in North Andover, had an awesome childhood. Vacations, family dinners all the time. I had no complaints growing up, and never tried any drugs or drinking or anything until I got into high school, my sophomore year. I was playing hockey, and just, I always say I succumbed to peer pressure, but not peer pressure like people think, where I was being bullied. I just really cared what other people thought. And I just wanted to fit in. Even if I didn't think it, I must have felt it somewhere that I didn't want to be the person that said no. So when I was offered a beer the first time, I took it, even though I didn't want to. I thought the consequences of not drinking were worse, socially. So I did it. The first pill I took was a Percocet. It was painkiller, prescription pain medication. That made it easier because I thought, oh, well, it's a doctor prescribed pain medication. I'm not doing drugs off the street. It was such an easy step because I had already drank like crazy in high school and funneling beers and doing this and playing drinking games. I had already smoked weed every way possible. The next step, to take one pill and swallow it, especially when I saw other kids doing it, it was a no-brainer for me, which is scary because I just, oh, sure, took it. Made me feel great. It was easy to go from marijuana to Percocet and from Percocet to OxyContin because I was taking 2 or 3 Percocets at one time. Why not take one pill, an OxyContin, which is more powerful? I became physically addicted. That's the first step. I was sick when I didn't have the drugs. Now, opiates, there are a few different levels of how that happens, and I won't go into it all, but there's chemicals in your brain that are altered, and there's chemicals in your body, like natural opiates, that your body stops producing. So when you don't have these oxys or Percocets, you get really sick. The only thing that makes you feel better is to do more. I did something so bad, I put people's lives in danger. It was especially in North Andover, such a small town, everyone hears about it.
Public shame.
Exactly, and not only my family, but just people from town were calling my parents saying, oh my God, we heard about Anthony and this and this. And it affects more than just your family. I think by me telling my story, if I could change the course of one kid's life in schools, that it would be worth it. My story is the strongest thing I have. It's what happened to me, but it's a story of it can happen to anyone. I didn't grow up in the projects. I didn't grow up selling drugs on the streets. My parents weren't drug addicts. I grew up in North Andover, a great town, great family, and it happened to me. And I ended up in a place that no one wants to end up. And the ultimate price, it's public shame.
Yeah.
And being able to tell my story is the strongest thing I have.
Today I have the senior SAD students who started this whole program way back 3.5 years ago, and today's first guest is one of my most special students of my whole career. Amanda Azes, welcome. How are you today?
I'm great.
So tell me a little bit about the role that SAD played in your life at Methuen. How did it help? What did you like about it? What would you change, if you could have, about our SAD experience?
Honestly, the thing that I take away most from it is the friendships that I made and the different connections that I know will last a lifetime. I know I'm going to keep in touch with you, one of my favorite teachers ever. All of my friends, my best friends are in SAD. And I know that next year, if any situations where peer pressure is involved, if I am in that situation where I need to make a decision, I can think back to these people who have been in my life for the past 4 years and think of what they would think, how they would respond if they found out that I had made a bad decision. And I know that they would be understanding and definitely forgiving, but I would hate to disappoint anybody in this group because we have all worked so hard to spread the message that there are other ways of having fun than being involved with drugs and alcohol. This goal that we have to show other people that obviously there are other ways to have fun and other ways to live your life than getting sucked into the vortex, I think that is really important. So I plan on either starting a SAD chapter, joining one, or joining a group similar to it, because I know SAD has provided me with tremendous experiences.
Pashwa Kumbari, how are you, my friend?
Pleasure, always.
Good to see you. Tell me a little bit about why you chose to come into SAD and why you developed into a leader of the SAD program.
The SAD group, where you can almost find conformity with people that are making the right decision, and it really opened up to me, and I felt as if that was the right path to choose.
When you're in high school, the pressure to be part of. So are you saying that SAD allowed you to be part of a group that you felt comfortable with because there were kids who wanted to have fun but just didn't want the drug and alcohol piece to interfere with their life?
Not only that, but they were also kids that were ready to say no to peer pressure. And I felt that was really strong, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to say no to peer pressure, and I did not want to fall into any type of peer pressure, whether it be drugs, alcohol, or any decision that I did not want to make. And I felt with SAD, it would be a group of my friends, and we could just all come together, and instead of me standing by myself saying no, I had other people backing me when I was saying no to drugs or alcohol.
You know that you've played an integral role in the expansion of SAD. I mean, I can remember, you guys as sophomores going down into the grammar schools and trying to recruit kids, and now to see, all of the schools in the Methuen Public Schools having a SAD chapter with an advisor. How does that make you feel in terms of, again, leaving the school community in a different shape than you found it?
I know that even though I'm leaving, there's kids coming up from 8th grade, 7th grade that are going to be part of SAD in the high school. And I know I have a little brother who's in the 5th grade now, but he goes to the Marsh, and I'm going to make sure that he joins SAD in the 7th and 8th grade. And it's good to know that not only kids like my little brother, but just everyone.
Anyone's children, yeah.
Anyone's children, they have the opportunity to join SAD, where it'll be a little bit easier for them to say no to peer pressure and also have a lot of fun.
What we try to do is give information. We try to show whether it's from people who have lost children to the addiction. We just had Chucky's Fight come in. Chuck Rosa from Seabrook Beach, New Hampshire, lost 2 of his sons to the heroin epidemic, and he is an advocate for drug prevention. He just came into the health classes at Methuen High through Jeff Osgood. We also had Doug Griffin, who tragically lost his daughter and is currently trying to build a rehab in southern New Hampshire. So whether it's teachers that are working as part of the prevention model in our school system, whether it's the SAD advisors, whether it's the cooperation of guidance and all the guidance counselors who play a role day in, day out dealing with the issues of students, we are trying to reach out to the community through this talk show. And our next interview will be with Colleen Welch, who is a former Methuen High grad, who is a very close friend of mine, who is now the coordinator at the Haven of Hope, their women's detox in Methuen. So we're reaching out to the community. We are highlighting what is being done on a daily basis toward the prevention of substance abuse in our schools. And hopefully you'll get a chance to take a look at one of these episodes that you may share with a family member. And we will be finishing this piece on the cable show, and then we'll be going over to the community resources, our website, which has links for parents to where to go, updated information on marijuana and the political decisions that are being made, and the implications of marijuana and medicinal marijuana and the decriminalization of marijuana. A whole host that will be updated on a weekly basis. We probably have over 50 different updated resources that are extremely comprehensive and is constantly being updated by Mr. Hatch. So I think that's crucial that we provide for our community a comprehensive resource page so they can access the resources and information that's available as we try to educate the community. What you see in front of you is a sample of the important articles and resources for the parents of Methuen Public Schools students. Since marijuana is becoming so popular again, we felt as though it was crucial to have a special announcement from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids called Tips for Those Tough Questions. We know that talking about marijuana with children can be difficult, especially these days where the drug is becoming legalized in some states, and in the increasingly casual presence of marijuana in the media and pop culture. But with the right tools and skills, we believe you can have an easier, more productive conversation with your teen about marijuana despite these unique challenges. We launched the new YouTube video series for parents. Launching every Thursday, there'll be a new topic like how to set the stage for a productive conversation, the conversation about the tough questions like, would you rather I drink alcohol, mom or dad? Weed is so much safer. How to respond to the challenges from your teen, like, but you smoked when you were younger, and more. So again, we're giving the options to these parents to subscribe to the YouTube channel and take a look at what's being available. And again, as the resource coordinator, I'm constantly getting emails and updated information from the government, from drug-free activities, and I screen these resources very closely because some of them are just not accurate. The important articles and resources for parents is constantly being updated, but we can see just for a sample 10 tips again for prevention for parents from the NCADD, the National Institute of Drug Abuse Issues, which has developed a strategic plan to address the current and future public health needs through transformative addiction research, new and improved strategies, topic on 1 billion fewer hydrocodone combination tablets being dispensed. That's from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids, because we do know that the problem with the opiates often stems from pain injuries or what have you, and the hydrocodone that is so expensive that many choose to go to heroin shortly thereafter. The question of Narcan and the use in schools, the school nurses on the front lines, things that you're not quite sure of because of the information that comes out, that drug use trends remain stable or decline among teens, and that's from the National Institute of Drug Abuse. The question of prescription medication and why are so many youth abusing Adderall and pharmaceuticals? How to listen to your teen, Partnership for Drug-Free Kids. So we have these events, we're constantly updating them, and nothing's more difficult but more important to talk to your children about this issue. We take it very seriously. Hopefully after listening and watching this not professional-made informational tape, you'll come away with a feeling, a heartfelt feeling that we, not just one or two of us, but the entire school system, the teachers, the entire staff care about your children, our children. And we take this role very seriously, and we believe that we have created a model program, not without its imperfections, but we've done a lot, we've accomplished a lot, and without a cooperation of the central office administration with the staff, with our own students, we have to remember that the majority of students attending Methuen public schools are healthy. They come to school to learn. They are provided with many educational opportunities, phys ed opportunities. There are over 55 groups that they can join at the high school. We're doing a lot of work, and prevention starts in the home, but we have your young children from kindergarten, preschool on, and we take that role very seriously. So hopefully, if you have any questions, you'll contact Mr. Bruder, Dean Bruder, at 978-273-4812, and it will be on your screen. Or if you want to email me any questions or observations at dbruder, BROUDER, 54 at Yahoo. And I want to thank you for your attention concerning this scenario, and we hope we've provided you with some information that will help you when it comes to Methuen Public Schools and substance use and abuse and prevention. Thank you.